to him who is distinct from the universe, Cha and Vishvaya, in whom the illusion of material creation manifests. Tatrishtre, to the witness of such illusion, Asya, of this world, Cha, and Hetave, to the root cause. Translation and purport by the servants of His Divine Grace. Translation: Obeisances unto you who know the destination of all things, superior and inferior, and who are the presiding regulator of all that be. You are distinct from the universal creation, and yet you are the basis upon which the illusion of material creation evolves, and also the witness of this illusion. Indeed, you are the root cause of the entire world. Purport: the words para and avara indicate superior, subtle elements and inferior, gross ones. The words also indicate superior personalities, devotees of the Lord, and inferior personalities who are unaware of the glories of God. Lord Krishna knows the destiny of all superior and inferior entities, animate and inanimate, and as a supreme absolute truth, he remains in his unique position above everything, as indicated by the word Sarva Dhakshaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the morning class on Balaram Jayanti. I'm a little nervous today, so I have to ask for extra blessings because, yeah, I think it's good we move the board for Mataji. Oh, the garland. That's also nice. Thank you. Maybe we can move the board also. Thank you. This garland was much needed. Yeah, I'm a little nervous because there's so much to say about Lord Balaram, and I've tried my best to organize all my notes. But last night I got a boost of inspiration. A very good friend of mine called me from Vrindavan, Krishna Murari, and his family, they are worshippers of Krishna Balaram for the last 600 to 800 years. And actually it's like a disciplic succession. They worship the Krishna Balaram deities in Nandagram, which is the seat of Krishna Balaram's, you could say, dominance over Braj. It's from where they go out into Vrindavan with their cows and have all their adventures, but they come home every evening to Nandagram, to the palace on the hill, and there's a beautiful altar with Krishna, Balaram, Mother Yashoda, Rohini, Nanda Maharaj. And so my friend Krishna Murari Goswami, actually is his proper title, his family has been worshipping Krishna Balaram for hundreds of years. It's like a disciplic succession, you know. And I messaged him yesterday saying, I have to give class today, so can you tell me something about Lord Balaram? So he just called me immediately and infused a lot of encouragement and blessings into my heart, which was very encouraging, and told me a little something that I will share at the end of our lectures. So actually today's two verses are very much, so I hope I have all your blessings and at least some of your attention. It'll make it easy to speak. So today's two verses are actually very much connected to Lord Balaram, because we see that the Nagapatnis, the wives of Kalya, are glorifying this sort of manifestation of God in this material world, his material phenomena, and how through the material phenomena one can become very bewildered or one can know him. And they're trying to find the language to somehow explain how he is everything, right? When they say things like, or how he knows everything, like, the destination of all beings. You are distinct from the universal creation, yet you are the basis of material illusion. You are the root of the entire world. They're trying to somehow other express that you are everything. You know everything. You are everything. You create illusion and you create reality. But actually, who they really are meant to be glorifying, I mean, of course, everyone glorifies Krishna, but is actually Lord Balaram. Because we'll hear today about how this entire material manifestation and the entire spiritual manifestation are the Sandhini potency of the Supreme Lord, the potency of existence. And the personification of that Sandhini potency is none other than Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram, as one Vaishnava put it, is the God of power. He's the God of material power, and he's also the God of spiritual power. Prabhupada explains how in this material world you have the force of gravity that keeps planets in orbits. And it's that same gravitational force that keeps molecules attached to one another, right? Like if you break down this microphone stand and you dissect it, all you find is smaller and smaller particles and more empty space. But within that empty space exists a gravitational pull that keeps these molecules together. If that force wasn't there, there would be no material world. Everything would just disintegrate, you see? And that force, Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavatam, that gravitational force that keeps everything together, that's actually Lord Balaram. So we owe him a lot. We owe Lord Balaram a lot. We wouldn't be able to do anything if Lord Balaram's potency wasn't there. Even the abilities in man, the strength of man, it all comes from Lord Balaram. So let's start. The first thing we should understand about Lord Balaram is a nice quote by Srila Prabhupada. Why is this topic so important for us? So I'll read this little quote. Prabhupada writes, if anyone wants to attain the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna and be able to taste and fully relish their pastimes, one must first approach the lotus feet of Lord Balaram and Lord Nityananda. This is a mandatory prerequisite, for only by receiving their mercy can this realization be possible. In other words, if we want to attain Radha and Krishna and be able to fully relish and taste their pastimes, we need the mercy of Lord Balaram or Lord Nityananda. And it's actually by their mercy that we'll understand the value of their mercy also. We need a little bit of their mercy so that we can appreciate how much we need their mercy. Therefore, it is very important to understand Balaram Tattva. There are actually three aspects of Lord Balaram. There is an aspect of Balaram as the representation of material strength, the ability in this material world, the force of this material world. He's also the person who delivers Krishna into our hearts. And we'll talk about that also a little bit. And he also protects the Dham. Now, Lord Balaram carries two objects with him. And these two objects, in one way, symbolically represent what are his different qualities in relationship to us as conditioned souls and also as liberated souls. So can someone name one thing that Lord Balaram carries? A plow? Okay. Can somebody name one more thing that Lord Balaram carries? Club? A club? There's one more thing, though, that Lord Balaram carries with him. He usually ties it, keeps it on his waist. Actually, he does carry a flute. He doesn't play it, but it's true, he carries a flute. Because Mother Yashoda never sees a difference between Krishna and Balaram. So she gives both of them a flute. Balaram doesn't play his flute, though. That's Krishna's business. He carries a buffalo horn. And so the Acharyas explain that what is the role of the buffalo horn? The role of the buffalo horn is when Balaram blows the buffalo horn, he's awakening all the residents of Vrindavan and all the different rasas to now activate themselves to serve the Supreme Lord, to serve Krishna. And the role of the plow, a plow is used to till the land, right? When you want to grow something in the land, you have to till it. You have to dig it up, and Alex knows this very well because he's a gardener. You have to dig it up and then you plant a seed and then you water it and the soil is loose, right? So the seeds can take roots, right? Daniel is also learning this now because he's our Tulsi Pujari. So he's learning that, you got to till the soil so Tulsi Rani can breathe, her roots can breathe. So plow plays a very important part in the cultivation of a plant. In the same way, Lord Balaram uses that plow to cultivate our hearts so that the plant of bhakti can sprout. So we'll talk about this also. These two symbolic things that Lord Balaram carries, in a way, present a picture of who Lord Balaram is in relationship to us. So it's very important to understand how Lord Balaram appeared in this world. And this is a very interesting topic. It's actually not so easy to find out some of these details, but I found this really cool lecture by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu in Hindi, and I listened to it and I took notes. So we all know that Lord Balaram comes from Mother Rohini, correct? That's not a surprise to anyone. Lord Balaram was born to Mother Rohini. And according to our system, he's a few days older than Krishna. That's why today we celebrate Balaram Jayanti, and next week we'll celebrate Janmashtami. Correct? These are things we're already aware of. But what actually happens is something like this. You see, Mother Rohini was pregnant with Balaram before he entered the womb of Devaki. In fact, he was in the womb of Mother Rohini for almost 14 months. Okay? Now, Kamsa, he was very evil and wicked. And he had imprisoned Devaki and Vasudeva. We all know that part. What we don't know also is that Kamsa was so wicked that he was thinking, just in case some other wife of Vasudeva gives birth to the child that's going to kill me, I'll arrest the other wives also. So at one point, he even had Rohini in his prison house. But Kamsa's advisors came to Kamsa and said, this is not proper. Okay, she's a pregnant woman. This is not proper. And the Akashvani, the voice in the sky, said that it was actually the child of Devaki that was going to kill you. So why are you harassing this poor woman? So Kamsa said, okay, no problem. Um, I will let her go. Now, as soon as she came out of the prison, Vasudev had this thought. He said, this fellow cannot be trusted. You know, today he's letting my wife go. Tomorrow he might do something dangerous to her. So what did Vasudev do? He said, you must go to Vrindavan, the place of Nanda Maharaj, because he's my cousin. They're related, you know. And he will take care of you. You can live with him there. He will take care of you. But it's the ideal standard is that when a queen travels, she must go in anybody knows? Jack, do you know what a queen travels in? A palanquin. A palanquin. It's a little thing. It's like a little wooden box that has a stick going from top, and you have these male servants who are usually quite strong. They carry, because she's a royal person. This is not an ordinary woman, right? She's a very royal person. She's a queen. She's the wife of Vasudeva. But Vasudeva knew that if I send a royal procession like that to Nanda Maharaj's village, to Vrindavan, people will become very suspicious. So he put his pregnant wife on a horse. He had her go by herself on a horse to Vrindavan. And when she arrived in Vrindavan, she was very lovingly welcomed by Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. She was given a place to stay, and she was well taken care of. Now, what happened is, here in Mathura, Mother Devaki got pregnant, and in the 6th month of her pregnancy, she had a miscarriage. So, you know, by this point, Mother Rohini was almost, I believe, I think like 13 or 14 months pregnant. So there was a miscarriage to Devaki. It seemed like the child had actually left, had not actually had died, material, using mundane language. But what had actually happened was that Krishna had instructed the Yogamaya potency that you take this child from the womb of Devaki and you put him into the womb of Rohini. So somehow the two children merged, you know, and then Balaram was transferred to the womb of Rohini. And then Krishna, again, later on, you know, Mother Devaki was pregnant and Krishna appeared from her womb. And the Acharyas explain, now there's a very short pregnancy there, so I haven't quite figured out that little detail yet, but maybe Josh can do some research for us and tell us exactly the timeline of the pregnancies. But the basic idea that the Acharyas explain is that Balaram appears first in the womb of Devaki. Why? He appears first in the womb of Devaki because he has to prepare her womb for the arrival of Krishna. We have to always remember that Balaram plays this role of facilitating Krishna's appearance, both in the hearts of the conditioned soul and also in the material world, and we'll hear about that also. So therefore, he appears in the womb of Devaki first to prepare the womb for the manifestation of Krishna. Some of the acharyas explain that actually Lord Balaram also plays the part of purifying the heart of lust, anger, and greed. So only when Lord Balaram first manifests in the heart and purifies our heart can our heart actually perceive the Supreme Lord. So he plays that very important role of facilitating Krishna's appearance. He's always doing this. He's always facilitating the pastimes of Krishna. One of the acharyas also points out that when Balaram was in the womb, he prepared a nice bed in Devaki's womb. So when his Lord arrives, he can take nice rest in the womb of Devaki, which was a sweet little detail, you know. That's so wonderful. And so then we know what happens. Krishna and Balaram take their birth in Vrindavan. And, Krishna appears in Dwarka, but this is a long story, but he's then taken to Vrindavan, where he's raised by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. Our acharyas explain, though, that Krishna actually takes birth from Mother Yashoda, and the Krishna that Vasudeva was taking from Dwarka to Vrindavan merged into the body of the Krishna that had come from the womb of Mother Yashoda. So Krishna is always the little darling child of Mother Yashoda. This is our understanding in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So it's described by the Acharyas that when Krishna and Balaram were small, they were both very much attached to each other. Actually, before this happens, there's another little interesting detail. Lord Balaram, when he was born, he was mute. He wouldn't speak, he wouldn't do anything. And Mother Rohini was very, very worried that what mother wouldn't be worried if you give birth to a mute child who is completely inactive? But whenever Mother Yashoda would hold little baby Balaram close to her heart, and we have to remember this is before Krishna appeared in this world, whenever that would happen, Balaram would start crying and screaming and kicking and laughing. Every time she would bring him close to her heart, he would start, as soon as he would feel, my brother's there. Because remember, Krishna first appears in the heart of Mother Yashoda before he appears out of her body. Same with Devaki, he first appears in the heart of Vasudeva, transferred into the heart of Devaki and then into her womb. Because Krishna doesn't take birth according to normal biological sequence of events. So whenever Balaram would feel that my brother is here, he would become very active and he would laugh and kick. And so this is very sweet that there was always that love between the two of them because they're eternally brothers. And then when they were growing up, they were almost inseparable. In fact, when you read the early chapters of the 10th canto, you see how Krishna and Balaram are practically together all the time. They're always playing together, rolling in the dirt or brush together, grabbing the tails of calves together and having the calves chase them around. And it's described that actually when they were little, they didn't know each other's names. So whenever the Rohini would say, Balaram, they would both get alert and think the mothers were calling them. And when they started crawling, they would both crawl to the mothers because they didn't know which one was Krishna, which one was Balaram. And then when they would say Krishna, then Balaram would also get up and go as if he was being called. So it's a very sweet little detail that the Acharyas have explained. So I don't want to go too off the track here, so I'm just looking at my notes, make sure I'm able to cover all the points. Right, so now we want to talk a little bit about how Lord Balaram is the personification of service to Krishna. So Balaram is understood to be the servitor Godhead. Prabhupada says there's no difference between Krishna and Balaram except Balaram is fair. Balaram is fair and Krishna is dark. However, there is one little detail about this also, that if you go to Gokul in Vrindavan, you find deities of Balaram that are black. And the Acharyas explain, or the tradition in Braj, why do you find deities of Balaram that are dark? Because Balaram is supposed to be fair. We all hear this, isn't it? We all hear this. So why do we find deities of Balaram that are dark? And the tradition in Braj goes like this, that Balaram's mood of wanting to love and protect his younger brother was so strong that sometimes he would manifest Krishna's black color so that when demons would come to Braj, they would mistake him for his younger brother and they would fight him. And Balaram liked that. He didn't want the demons to attack his younger brother. He wanted them to fight him. So that's why sometimes in Gokul, when you visit some of these smaller temples, Shri Kishore Kishori ki jai, Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subramani ki jai. So sometimes in Gokul Braj, you find these deities of Balaram that are actually dark and not fair. Why? Because it's a manifestation of his love for Krishna. He wants to protect Krishna from the demons. So he'll pretend to be Krishna sometimes and put on a flute, and then when the demons would come, they would attack him. So this is explained. But we also hear that he's the first manifestation of Krishna, the first expansion. He's fair. Prabhupada says there's no difference between Balaram and Krishna. One is golden fair, the other one is dark. So he has all the potency of Krishna. And from Balaram expands the Chaturvyuha, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, Vasudev. And these Chaturvyuha expansions are basically positioned on all four sides of Gokul. And from each of them manifest actually the different Mahavishnus. Not from each of them, from Sankarshan. From the Sankarshan manifestation of Balaram, this is getting a little technical, but there's a point here. From the Sankarshan manifestation of Balaram manifests the Vishnus that manifest this material creation. So, for example, your Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, they're actually expansions of Sankarshan, who is an expansion of Balaram. What does that mean? That means that every single atom in this material world is actually coming from Lord Balaram. And it's the exact same thing in the spiritual world. Lord Balaram manifests all the paraphernalia for Krishna's worship and Krishna's play. The trees of Braj, the waters of the Yamuna, the peacock feathers, the flowers, the bees, all of that is actually a manifestation of Lord Balaram's Sandhini potency. So he's facilitating the material world so that those of us who still have material desires can manifest our karma and eventually come to the path of bhakti and go back home, back to Godhead. And then he's facilitating the spiritual world so that those who want to serve Krishna in one of the five rasas, Shanta, Dasya, Vatsalya, Sakya, Madhurya, then they're able to facilitate, they're able to do their service. So it's very interesting, the importance of having some sort of environment in which you can do your service, right? Just like if there was no altar, then what would the pujaris do? If there was no mridanga, how would we have kirtan? So we have to appreciate the value of how Prabhupada provided a whole environment for us. He provided a temple and deities, and with the deities came a Mangal Arti, and with that Mangal Arti came what? Engagement for us. Otherwise, how many of us here are advanced enough to wake up every single morning at 3:30, 4 o'clock, get ready and come and sing songs about God? If there was no altar, if there was no environment like this, we could do it for a few weeks, maybe a couple of days. I know myself, I would do it for maybe 2 days before it's like, forget it. I'm just going to sleep in, This is inhumane to wake up so early. So it's not, by the way. It's very nice to wake up that early. The point is, we need an environment to express our devotion, to express our desire to serve. And that's what Balaram is providing in the material and the spiritual world. Now, for us, Prabhupada oftentimes emphasized one particular aspect of Lord Balaram, which is that he's the root of the Guru Tattva. So again, the theme of this lecture is that Balaram manifests the appearance of Krishna. And the appearance of Krishna in our hearts is a role that is facilitated by the spiritual master. It's the instructions in the relationship with the spiritual master that allows Krishna to appear in our heart. And the spiritual master derives his strength from Lord Balaram because he's the root of the Guru Tattva, the root of the desire to serve Krishna, right? That's what Balaram is. He's the root of that desire to serve Krishna, and the Guru is trying to facilitate our service to Krishna. So he derives his strength from Lord Balaram. I want to read you a quote from Srila Prabhupada. It's from the first canto, chapter 14, verse 29. I'll read it slowly. Please try to follow. It's really nice. Prabhupada writes here, Sri Ram, or Balaram, is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. Baladev acts as the spiritual master of all the devotees, and by his causeless mercy, the fallen souls are delivered. I'll read that again. By his causeless mercy, all the fallen souls are delivered. Sri Baladev appeared as Sri Nityananda Prabhu during the advent of Lord Chaitanya. And the great Lord Nityananda Prabhu exhibited his causeless mercy by delivering a pair of extremely fallen souls named Jagai and Madhai. Therefore, it is particularly mentioned herein that Balaram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. How does he protect the devotees? He protects the devotees by fully manifesting their spiritual desires. We have in our hearts some spiritual desire, but then we have these huge tigers, these beasts who are trying to consume our spiritual desires, right? These beasts are called things like the desire for fame, the desire for satisfy our sensual desires, the desire for power, the desire for recognition. So we have this tiny little calf of a spiritual desire, and then these like tigers who are trying to consume that little tiny calf and eat it. But what is Lord Balaram doing? He's providing that function of protecting that little bit of spiritual desire by giving us mercy, by keeping those tigers at bay, by giving us the proper association, and ultimately by giving us the mercy of Krishna, by which that little calf becomes very strong, and then these other tigers of material desires can eventually die off. So that's why it says here, it is particularly mentioned here in that Lord Balaram is the protector of the devotees of the Lord. Because remember in the passing of Jagai and Madhai, Lord Chaitanya was ready to kill these two brothers because they attacked Lord Nityananda. But it was Lord Balaram who said, no, my dear Lord, in this incarnation, you didn't take birth to kill demons. He reminded Lord Chaitanya, you didn't take birth to kill demons. But this is Kali Yuga. Everyone in Kali Yuga is going to be like this. So if you kill them, what will people think of your mercy? How will they call you the most merciful incarnation? So in that way, he was able to facilitate Lord Chaitanya's service to the world and protect the little bit of faith that Jagai and Madhai had in him, and therefore they ended up becoming devotees. So see how wonderfully Lord Balaram works. He's protecting the devotees, and he's facilitating Lord Chaitanya's service in the material world by reminding him that don't kill them. If you start chopping off heads every time you see a demoniac person, then and it's Kali Yuga, bro. There's going to be a lot of chopped heads. Right? By his divine grace only can one approach the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Again, by his divine grace only can one approach the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And thus Sri Balaram is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, manifested as the spiritual master, the savior of the pure devotees. Jai Shri Shri Kishore Kishori, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadramani. Oh, nope, never mind. Hare Krishna. They closed the curtains again. So Balaram is the mercy incarnation of the Lord, manifested as the spiritual master, the savior of the pure devotees. I'll read to you one more quote from Srila Prabhupada. The sword of knowledge is given by Krishna, and when one serves the Guru and Krishna in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, right? So Krishna is giving the knowledge, the wisdom. You are not this body. Tolerate the dualities of this material world. See my manifestation in the hearts of all living entities. See all living entities expansions of me. This is the knowledge Krishna is giving. So then what do we try to do? We serve our spiritual master and the Lord, and we try to hold that sword of Krishna's instructions. We try to see the world with the lens of that instruction. It's called becoming a Shastra Chakshu. Balaram gives one the strength to hold that sword of knowledge. You follow? Because the sword is quite heavy. If you pick up the sword of knowledge, I'm a weakling, I can speak for myself. It's like, sometimes in the movies you see this little skinny character who's going to become a great fighter. So when he first meets his teacher, the teacher says, pick up that sword. And the little kid is barely able to hold it. But then like a couple of scenes later, he's like the strong guy. So in the same way, we're like these little skinny guys, and we're being asked to carry this sword of heavy knowledge. Where are we going to get the strength to actually hold the sword and be able to fight illusion with it? That comes from Balaram. Balaram is Nityananda. Thus, one should accept the sword of knowledge and from Krishna and be strong with the mercy of Balaram. We are therefore worshipping Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan. So this is such a significant point for those of us who are trying to grow in our Krishna consciousness. Let's wait for the curtains to fully open this time. Jai Shri Shri Kishore Kishori Jagannath Baldev Subhadramani Gaur Nitai Srila Prabhupada Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. So this is the point. So the reason I'm bringing out this point is because on the appearance days of great souls and the Vishnu incarnations, our acharyas have taught us that we should pray for the specific mercy that they can bestow upon us. So for example, on the appearance day of Srimati Radharani, we can pray for pure devotion in the mood of the gopis of Vrindavan. On the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev, we can pray for protection for our bhakti creeper. On the appearance day of Krishna, we can pray that, my dear Lord, just like you have manifested in this material world, may you manifest in my dark heart. Right? So the different incarnations of the Lord. On the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya, so many prayers we can offer. My dear Lord, let me become an instrument in your Sankirtan mission. Let me also cry tears of love of God like you're crying. So the different incarnations, the different great, on the appearance of Rupa Goswami, we can pray that, my dear Rupa Goswami, please allow me to understand these scriptures you've left behind. So you see, on the different appearance days, there's different prayers we can offer based on the particular manifestation, the particular avatar. And on the day of Lord Balaram's appearance, today is really a day to connect with Guru Tattva. Today is the day to really think about what is your relationship with your spiritual master. Or if you don't have a spiritual master, then today is a day to pray for one. That, my dear Lord Balaram, I want to know Krishna. I want to serve Krishna. I have this huge mountain of false ego, and I have no spiritual muscles. But I need a guru. I need a guru to overcome this mountain of illusion so I can serve him. He can purify my heart by service. And I need that chit shakti, that transcendental potency that's going to allow me to accept this knowledge that Krishna is giving so I can fight the world of illusion. So you please provide a spiritual master for me. You send someone. You send someone who can help me grow in my Krishna consciousness to become your devotee. And if you already have a spiritual master, then today is a really wonderful day to pray to be able to serve him and recommit ourselves to our relationship with our spiritual masters. This is a point that's very personal for me because I always feel that relationships require reinvestments, right? Today, Josh and I, we give each other hugs all the time. It's an investment. We don't just tell each other that we have love for each other and we're friends once, and then for the next 3 months, we never have an intimate heart-to-heart, or we never hug it out, we never talk as brothers do. Then where is the investment in the relationship, right? You can't just tell a child I love you, and then for the next 15 years, never show any affection, right? So every relationship requires regular investment. And that is particularly true for the relationship with the spiritual master. That when you have a spiritual master, in the beginning it's always, I remember when I first got initiated, when I was first aspiring for initiation, I felt so much excitement. I can't wait to have a name. I can't wait to have a guru. I can't wait to sit near a fire, take vows. So exciting. I'll get beads chanted by my guru. couldn't wait for that day. And everything the guru said, you're like, I want to follow this, Then after some time, you notice the material energy, it's the vitiating plane. It's the enervating plane. The enervating plane means everything deteriorates over time. Just like if you leave this flower garland, it's transcendental. We don't have the vision to see it, but it is transcendental. But from mundane vision, if you leave this flower garland here, then after 2 weeks it wilts and dries. If you leave an apple, it'll have worms in it. If you leave anything in this material world exposed to the sun, after some years, Mother Krishna knows, paintings lose their colors, right? Photographs. If you have your old photographs, when you take them out, you're like, when did this happen? They all look reddish. Where did the colors go? Because things in the material world vitiate, they enervate over time. Because the material world is a giant mass of the mode of ignorance, which means everything is moving towards destruction. It's moving towards destruction. And that energy that we're kind of in is so powerful that it also affects our relationships. That if you don't have regular investment in a relationship, then the nature of the material world is that it's just going to make it worse. That's just how the material world works. If two people fall in love but don't nourish each other on a regular basis, after some time there is no love. If two people become friends, if they don't regularly hang out, after some time they're not. It's like, yeah, okay, he's there, I'm there. There's no energy, there's no connection, right? So it's the same with the spiritual master. It's not like just accepting a guru and getting initiation means that for the rest of your life, your spiritual master is like your life and soul and your worshipable deity, and everything he says is gold. It doesn't exactly work like that. It can only be that way when there's a regular investment in that relationship. And we invest in our relationship with our guru how? Quite simply by praying to him, by hearing their lectures, and by praying for some guidance on a day like today, that please give me some guidance on what I need to change, what I need to improve, how can I be closer to you? And maybe reflecting on some of the instructions we've received that we haven't been able to quite follow yet. We can make a list, like what is, Daniel knows Vaisheshik Guru since before he was able to even buy a pack of cigarettes. He's known him for, 20 years now? 16 years. 14 years. That's a lot of instructions. You must have had so many instructions over those years, so many personal conversations, so much guidance, right? So much love and affection. And today is a really wonderful day to write down some of those things and remind yourself, oh, when I was 18, he told me this. When I was 22, he told me this. I really need to work on this. He told me this. I should really do it. So today's a day to do that, actually. So this was a point that was obviously like a core part of my class, the point that Lord Balaram is the manifestation of Guru Tattva in our life, and his appearance today is a very wonderful day to celebrate our relationship with our spiritual masters. And if we don't have a spiritual master, then to pray to have one, to come closer to Srila Prabhupada. I want to make two last points. So we see that in Krishna Lila, Lord Balaram, he is responsible for killing two demons. Okay? Does anybody know one of them? Dhenukasura, we just read about that in the last chapter. Can anybody name the other demon that Lord Balaram kills? Defeats? Pralambasura, right. So here's a little statement from the Acharyas. The demons killed by Lord Balaram represent different anarthas, which are as follows. Dhenukasura and other asses represent ignorance of the truth due to idiocy. Idiocy. Can you look up the word idiocy? I should have looked it up earlier. Thanks. That was very idiotic of me to not look it up. Okay. Ignorance of the truth due to idiocy. Loss of knowledge of one's spiritual identity. Ignorance concerning the non-difference of Krishna and his name. And ignorance of our relationship with Krishna. So that's what Dhenukasura represents. The killing of Pralambasura, on the other hand, he represents licentiousness. So Balaram removes licentiousness, the desire for personal gain, worship, and honor. Now, why does Pralambasura represent licentiousness, personal gain, worship, and honor? Because he was a pretender. He pretended to be a cowherd boy. Here's the story in real brief. Pralambasura comes and he wants to kill Krishna and Balaram and decides to kill Balaram first because he realizes Krishna is quite indefeatable. He's killed a lot of demons already. So he plays his cards well, according to him. He thinks if I kill Balaram first and Balaram is the strength of Krishna, then Krishna will be too morally, emotionally devastated to kill me. And then I'll have an upper hand on Krishna also. So this is how demons think. So what does he do? The cowherd boys are playing and Pralambasura comes disguised as a cowherd boy and is on Krishna's side, and Krishna's side loses. So when Krishna's side loses the game, they have to carry the boys from Balaram's side on their shoulders. So Pralambasura chooses to carry Lord Balaram. And he runs off with Lord Balaram into the forest. And Lord Balaram realizes, this is not a cowherd boy, you know. And I forget, there was one very wonderful detail about how Krishna sends the Yogamaya potency to remind Balaram of how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's right. Balaram sitting on Pralambasura's shoulders and thinking, wait a second, this is not a coward boy, you know? And then the Yogamaya potency reminds Balaram, by the way, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then he becomes super heavy, and Pralambasura realizes, oh, what's happening? So he manifests his demon form, and then Lord Balaram jumps off, takes his club, and whack, one stroke, finished, you know? So he represents this idea for personal gain, worship, and honor. So what happens in the material world also is that we sometimes pretend to be something in order to gain some kind of personal gain, worship, or honor. And this is what Pralambasura represents, right? At least I can speak for myself. Many times devotees say something to me like, oh, Prabhu, that was really nice. And I'll say, oh, it's just by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. But actually, internally, I'm a little proud. I'm thinking, no, I did this. I deserve this honor, you know, but I'm pretending to be this humble Vaishnav because that'll get me even more honor. People will say, wow, he's so humble, you know, what a nice devotee. So in this way, I trick myself. I know I can speak for myself that I trick myself by pretending to be somebody else so I can gain some worship and honor and respect from others. So this is what Balaram is destroying in our hearts. And then it's explained that it's very interesting if you look at the contrast between Krishna and Balaram. Krishna, his role is to attract us, right? Krishna plays his flute. He looks so beautiful. He dresses in a certain way. He smiles in a certain way. And Krishna's role is to attract the living entities to want to have a relationship with him, right? Jai Jagannath tells a story one time of this black lady who came to the temple and she saw Krishna on the altar. She saw Kishore on the altar and she went, I want him, you know? And Jagannath was like, you got our philosophy for the most part, you know, because Krishna is so attractive that any woman in her right mind would look at Krishna and think, if I could have that as a lover, you know, wouldn't that be amazing? If any boy in his right mind thinks, if I could have that as a friend, of course, we're not boys and we're not women, you know. Boys can also want to be lovers of Krishna. That's not my point. My point is just from a very conventional point of view. Krishna is so beautiful. I had one boy at UIC. I was preaching at UIC for 2 years, and one boy came up to me one day. He said, you know, I like Krishna. I said, why? He said, because I grew up Greek Orthodox, and our vision of God is an old man with a beard. But Krishna is so beautiful. I was like, wow, this is the success of my preaching. That one comment was the success of my preaching. So Krishna is beautiful. So this is what Krishna does. He attracts. He attracts the living entities by playing his flute, by these beautiful pastimes, by his beauty, by his sheer presence on the altar. He's attracting all living entities. Balaram's role is a little bit different. Balaram's role is the role of purification, the role of weeding out the darkness in our heart. And it's explained how does that happen. So I'll just read one direct quote because I don't want to speculate. One must pray to Lord Balaram and Krishna to purify their hearts of these qualities. And when our calling becomes very severe, then the mercy of Lord Balaram will destroy these qualities in our heart. So we have to recognize that I have a desire for fame. I have a desire for, I'm ignorant of my relationship with Krishna. I have these weaknesses in my heart. Then we pray to Lord Balaram, and it's by his mercy. And how does his mercy come into our life? Through the spiritual master. You will find yourself being guided by your spiritual master, receiving instructions from your spiritual master that are directly meant to address these weaknesses that we want to get rid of. But this is our work. We have to pray to let go of these things. Then Balaram's mercy can manifest. So you see the difference? Krishna attracts, and we're drawn to Krishna to worship him and love him. But with Balaram, we have to become a little bit more conscious and realize, wait a second, before I get pulled towards Krishna fully and completely, there are some things in my heart. I have this desire for recognition, for honor, for respect, nasty things. So we pray to Balaram to rid these things from our heart. So I'll end with one pastime. I'm sorry, I try to usually end by 8:25. It's 8:28 now. But I'll end with this one quick pastime and a prayer from Krishna book. So this is a pastime that my friend Krishna Murari told me. He's the Goswami from Braj. And he was explaining to me over the phone how we all know how Govindaji appeared in this world, correct? Right? Jack doesn't know how Govindaji appeared in this world. I'll tell this quickly for Jack's benefit. So Govindaji is a deity in Vrindavan, a very beautiful deity of Krishna. And what was happening was that every single day, Rupa Goswami, who's one of our acharyas, it was Rupa Goswami, right? He would see that a cow would go to a particular mound of dirt and she would release milk there spontaneously, This was happening every single day. And he noticed this day after day. So then he called the villagers in Vrindavan and said, dig over there and see what we find. So they dug. And what did they find? They found the deity of Govindaji, this beautiful deity of Krishna who is, who is now being worshipped in Jaipur. But along with Govindaji, he told me they found a few other deities that I didn't know about. They found a 7-foot tall deity of Lord Balaram. And they also found a deity of Brinda Devi, who is now worshipped in Kamyavan. So they found these deities. And then what happened was in the 15th century, when Vrindavan was being attacked by Aurangzeb's soldiers, then many of our deities were at risk. Okay, many of our deities and temples were at the risk of being destroyed. So they were being smuggled out of Vrindavan to different places, especially to Jaipur. Many of those deities are now in Jaipur, where I was born in this material world. So what happened is the Queen of Jaipur heard that actually there's a 7-foot tall deity of Balaram in Vrindavan and it might get destroyed by Aurangzeb. So she developed a desire in her heart, I want to worship this deity. So she went to Vrindavan, she found this deity, and she was making plans to bring this deity back to Jaipur. But that night, Lord Balaram appeared in her dreams. And he told her that, O Queen of Jaipur, it's very nice you want to worship me, but you should know that there are 2 entities that can never ever leave Vrindavan. The first is Yamuna. She will never leave Vrindavan. And the second is me. Because it is my service to protect this dham and to facilitate the service of my brother, so I can never leave. So you have to leave me behind. So the queen thought, okay, she left this deity behind. I think he's being worshipped in a temple now near Govindaji Mandir in Vrindavan. So she thought, I'll take the Vrinda Devi deity. I'll take Vrinda Devi. As she was trying to leave Vrindavan, basically the border of Vrindavan and Rajasthan, which is where Jaipur is, there's a village, there's a place called Kamyavan. The soldiers noticed that the cart wouldn't cross. The cart wouldn't cross the boundary between Braj and Rajasthan. So she understood that actually Vrinda Devi also doesn't want to leave. So right there, in fact, even today when you go to Kamyavan, that temple is very close to the border with Rajasthan. So there they built a temple of Vrinda Devi, and she's being worshipped there now for many hundreds of years. What is the point is that Lord Balaram, he never leaves Vrindavan, and he always wants to stay there to protect the dham. So I'll end my class with a prayer from Krishna book. It's from chapter 65. It's a really beautiful prayer. If you want it, I can message it to you on WhatsApp later. It says, My dear Balaram, you're the most powerful personality and you're pleasing to everyone. Unfortunately, I forgot your glorious exalted position, but now I have come to my senses and I remember that you hold all the planetary systems on your head merely by your partial expansion as Sheshanag, right? So Balaram is Anantashesh, he's also Anantashesh, and he's holding all the universes on his head. You are the sustainer of the whole universe. My dear Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are full with 6 opulences. Because I forgot your omnipotence, I have mistakenly disobeyed your order, and thus I have become a great offender. What is Lord Balaram's order? Serve Krishna. But my dear Lord, please know that I am a soul surrendered unto you, who are very affectionate to your devotees. Therefore, please excuse my impudence and mistakes, and by your causeless mercy, may you now release me. So I think this is referring specifically to what happens in the 65th chapter. Who says this prayer? I'm sorry? Yamuna Devi. Yeah. So this is there's so many pastimes I wanted to share, but yeah, this is Yamuna Devi, who refused Balaram at one point, because Lord Balaram is the enjoyer, He also has his own Rasa Leela in Vrindavan. Only him and Krishna, they have their own Rasa Leela. So when Balaram actually came to Vrindavan on the order of Krishna from Mathura to pacify the residents of Vrindavan, it's described by our Acharyas that when the gopis met Lord Balaram, they immediately felt like they were again in the presence of Krishna. That's how similar they are. But Balaram himself, because he's also in the mood of the enjoyer, he has his own set of gopis. They have their own Rasa Leela near Balaram Kund, where Balaram is always residing with Revati, his consort. They have their own Rasa Leela. And at one point in the middle of the Rasa Leela, Lord Balaram, who's very fond of drinking Varuni. Actually, I wonder if they'll make some today. Usually in temples on Balaram Jayanti, they make Varuni, which is the real way to make it is you have to ferment the orange juice with honey. But the probably the more kosher way to do it is just to have orange juice with honey. But I know in Vrindavan some devotees who actually make real Varuni and offer it to Balaram because he likes it. In fact, there's this very beautiful deity of Balaram. I'll show you a picture if you want afterwards. And we went to take darshan of him with my Guru Maharaj, and he had a chadar around his And we asked the pujari, like, what's he holding? Because we could notice there was a protrusion by the chest. And the pujari told us he's holding a cup of Varuni. So he's got a drink. So anyways, so Balaram had drank some Varuni and his eyes were rolling. They were red with intoxication. And he had a desire to swim in the Yamuna with his gopis. And so he was telling the Yamuna, come over here. I don't want to go there. You come over here. And she wasn't listening. So then he put his plow on the ground and started. And he threatened her. He said, I will destroy you into 1,000 little rivulets. Because you don't listen to me, I'm going to destroy you and turn you into 1,000 little streams. So Yamuna Devi got really concerned. And so she manifested and apologized to Lord Balaram. And that's why actually when you look at the flow of the Yamuna, they say that the flow is a little bit unnatural because there's a particular part of Braj where she kind of like sweeps in and then sweeps back out because it's right near where Lord Balaram has his Rasa Leela. So she drags the Yamuna to him because he's God, he can do such things. So that is my presentation for today. Sorry I went a few minutes over time. If some of you have to go for service or something, please don't feel obliged to say. If anybody has a comment or a reflection they would like to share now, please feel free to do that. Thank you again for listening. Hare Krishna. Maybe Acharya's, because I know yours will be a little long, maybe we'll just let him go first and then he can, that way if he has to go for some service because he's on the altar, then.
I know this question is brought up before, but I can't recall. In the Nectar devotion, we get that Krishna manifests 64 qualities. Does that also apply with Balaram?
I don't know, it's a good question. Because the Vishnu Tattvas, they have fewer and fewer qualities of Krishna. But maybe Josh knows. I would assume he has all 64 because Prabhupada says he's non-different. The only difference is he's fair, Krishna is black. And he even has a flute. So I would assume he has all 64 qualities of Krishna. But I don't have Shastric evidence for that, so I don't want to speculate. Subal Prabhu, you know the answer to his question? Oh, his question was, it says that Krishna has 64 qualities, and we hear that how the different Vishnu incarnations have fewer and fewer, right? Like Lord Shiva has like fewer, and Mahavishnu has, like Narayan has less. So what about Lord Balaram? Does he have all the 64 qualities of Krishna? Right? Yeah. So we have.
Yeah, he has the flute, he has the beauty, he has the
Everything.
The
Pastimes. Yeah.
and,
The loving associates.
the loving associates.
Yeah. I was also feeling that too, because one time there was this famous story, two disciples were arguing who is better or greater, Krishna, Balaram, like that. Prabhupada said, who do you think is better? Balaram. Okay, fine. Who do you think is better? Krishna. Okay, fine. It's like, yeah, they're both great. Okay, if no one else has a comment, then Jai Baldev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your class. Wonderful as usual. Very poetic. I think you should write more poetry. Do poetry nights. You made a lot of wonderful points. I'll try to share some of the thoughts and maybe a question I have regarding one of your points. Also, that I think is a very important question regarding how much time we invest in relationships. But you were mentioning that Lord Balaram plows the ground in much the same way he plows. He makes our hearts fertile, something like that. To that extent, I believe you were mentioning. And you were also mentioning he's the root of Guru Tattva. And from your whole class, you brought up a verse maybe you probably heard before. Prabhupada quotes it many times. If Balaram is the Guru Tattva, he's also gives us a seed of devotion also, you could say. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Poi Bhaktivata Bija.
Right.
By the mercy of Guru, Balaram, and Krishna, we get the seed of devotion. He makes our hearts fertile. Still, like Prabhupada, he's made so many favorable circumstances, fertile circumstances. He's given us the Bhagavatam, the deities.
So many, yeah.
The only action we require is a nice quote I heard. It basically says a seed cannot germinate in the light. It must be buried in the ground. In much the same way we can't grow in the spotlight, we must humble ourselves. In other words, if a seed is above the ground, it can't grow. If it's below the ground, it can grow. And much the same, if we put ourselves above others, we can't grow. If we put ourselves below others, I want to mention one last pastime and that I really appreciate regarding your point regarding these weeds of recognition and so many desires. In the Holy Bible, I don't remember which part, but basically there's a verse where Lord Jesus' disciples, John and somebody else, I forgot, they asked Jesus, how can we be your first-hand mans? How can we be first? Because when there's a celebrity, everyone wants to associate with the celebrity, so they're very proud to know Jesus. How can we, strut our stuff around you? You're very popular. And so Jesus says, if you want to be first, then you must be servant of all. For even the Son of Man has not come to serve, to be served, but to serve and give his life as ransom for many. And Martin Luther King, he wrote a very profound speech that Jai Jagannath Prabhu actually would share with you guys. You know
The
what I'm
drum
talking
major
about?
instinct, yeah.
Exactly, the drum major instinct. And in this speech, Martin Luther King, he you could say interpreted this verse from Jesus. He says, Jesus in effect was saying, if you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful.
If you want to be first, wonderful. But I want you to be first in love. I want you to be first in moral excellence. I want you to be first in generosity. That is the new definition of greatness. So my question is that regarding planting our seed of devotion, when a seed is planted in the ground, it develops fruit. And we eat the fruit to gain strength. So my question is that regarding your point of investing in relationships, we maintain our strength by eating fruit or any type of food. And other people maintain their strength by eating food. So in our relationships, how much can you invest in relationships if you have this interest in speaking about Krishna, feeding your mind with Krishna Katha, and suppose they don't? How much energy can you invest? It's everyone's responsibility to feed themselves. So my question is, what's the demarcation of how much time should we invest in somebody who doesn't want to talk about Krishna? So
I don't know, I guess
how
it
much?
depends on the relationship. Like, I don't talk to my parents about Krishna all the time, but they're my parents, so I have to invest in that relationship. I think it's kind of like the nature of the relationship. With different people, it would be different. But but I would say if you were to ask me like what are my heart relationships, then it's the devotees who want to talk about Krishna. And that's where the relationships are the deepest and strongest because we have that commonality. So, I think it's just a matter of seeing which relationship it is and is it something that you can really just kind of cut off? It's not really necessary for your life. Um, or is it something that's very important for your life? Like, for example, my parents, my brother, we don't talk about Krishna much, a little bit, but, you know, it's an important relationship, so I'm not going to cut it off. But in terms of the relationships that really inspire and touch the heart, then yes, those are the ones where deep realizations can be shared, where we can talk about Krishna together. And it's an investment, like recently one of my really dear friends, his name is Ananda Murari, and I was really missing his association, so I called him yesterday and said, can we just read together? Like out of the blue, I was like, let's just spend a couple hours reading about Lord Balaram and Balaram Jayanti. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we're going to spend the afternoon reading together and just sharing realizations. But it was spontaneous. We haven't done this in a long time, But I just felt like this relationship needed an investment. So I think it's up to us to reach out to people that we care about and invite them into a space where we can then have an exchange. Maybe ask a dear friend to have prasadam with you, ask someone if they can read together with you, and in that way create a space where some investment can be made in the relationship. Because, investment in relationship means time, right? Time and service, giving gifts. As Rupa Goswami says, you give a gift to a dear friend, and that way invest in the relationship. Yeah. But I think, yeah. Anyways, I don't know if that answers your question. But, yeah. Nice. Nice. Okay, so Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for your attention. Lord Balaram ki jai.